Hello and welcome. Today we are exploring a key challenge in regulatory compliance across African markets: modular approval versus end or host device approval. This topic may sound simple on the surface, but as many manufacturers and compliance professionals know, the reality is anything but. Let's start with a fundamental question. If a wireless communication module is type approved, does that approval also cover the host device it's embedded in? Sounds straightforward, right? Unfortunately, the answer is not so simple, especially across most African countries where the regulatory landscape is often silent or inconsistent on this specific issue. From a technical perspective, one might assume that certifying the module, say Wi-Fi or cellular module, should be enough to declare the entire host device compliant. After all, the radio characteristics are already tested, and the host device might even be clearly labeled with the module approval reference. But here is the issue. Type approval isn't just about radio performance. Most African regulators require device to comply with the broader standards, including electromagnetic compatibility, EMC, electrical safety, and in some cases, e-waste and labeling requirements. Because of this broader scope, modular approval doesn't always exempt the host device from needing its own certificate. One of the main challenges is that very few African countries provide clear regulatory guidance on how to treat modular versus host device type approval. And this lack of clarity, unfortunately, leads to interpretations that vary from one regulator to another. But there are some exceptions, and let's look at two countries that do provide explicit guidance. First, Tanzania. In its 2023 type approval guidelines, the Tanzania Communication Regulatory Authority, TCRA, states that a host device must undergo full type approval even if the integrated module is already type approved. However, a module used within an already type approved host device is not subject to mandatory type approval unless that module is being imported separately or is working as a standalone. The second country that provides clear guidance is Egypt. Egypt National Telecommunication Regulatory Authority, NTRA, published an official FAQ stating that if the product's main function is not telecommunications, such as a printer or camera with Wi-Fi, then the module only approval is sufficient. But if the product primary function is telecommunication, is communication, like a mobile phone, a Wi-Fi router, or a radar, then the host level type approval is mandatory. These distinctions make Egypt one of the few regulators with a clearly documented position on modular certificate. What about the rest? For countries that don't clearly regulate modular approval, like Angola, Zambia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, among others, here is what we observe. Host device approval is generally expected as the default. However, module-only approvals are accepted, especially when the module is supposed to be imported separately into the country or will function as a standalone. That said, there is no guarantee of consistency unless the regulator has formally defined a position on it. So, what's the best approach? We have identified two. If the country has a clear guidance, then strictly follow it If a country is silent on the issue, then it's best to request a written clarification from the regulator and stay updated as the position may evolve with new regulations. And that's where Eleos can help. Our team of regulatory compliance specialists work with reliable sources across the African continent. We have experience, network, and up-to-date intelligence to support your certification efforts, whether for modules, host devices, or entire product ecosystems. So, if you are navigating the regulatory maze in Africa, trust Eleos to guide the way. Thanks for watching.